I found this in a baggie. It's green stuff in a baggie. Is this even legal? I don't even know what it is. Do you ever get the feeling that you have too many spices in your pantry, drawer, or spice rack of yours? This video is for two kinds of people. One, people who've gone completely overboard with their spices. And two, if you want to avoid becoming a person who hoards spice like you're a character from that Dune movie, then stick around. I'm not gonna list all the common spices and then tell you why you gotta have them all, like they're a bunch of Pokemon.
Kill me! Damn! This smoked paprika. Turmeric. Small, yellow, effective.
I'm gonna present with you two questions you need to ask yourself when deciding which spices you want or need to have. I'll offer some tips on shopping for spices and blends, and then I'll tell you my two favorite spices that I've always had in every kitchen for the last 20 years. Let's do this. The first question you need to ask yourself when deciding which spices you want is one, what type of food am I eating? Or more accurately, what kind of food do I want to cook at home? If you love carne asada and tacos, shish taouk, falafel, Irish stew, fresh pasta sauce, then finding the right herbs and spices for these foods is essential. But Alex, you're probably gonna say, what if I don't want to eat just one type of food? That's a good counterpoint. But as you can see, there's a lot of crossover when it comes to these spices. So you can cover a lot of ground by getting a few key spices that are cross-cultural. There's cumin and coriander, garlic powder, cinnamon, basil, oregano, thyme. They sort of repeat in different cuisines. So you can probably cover your bases across the board without overloading or overwhelming your pantry. This is where being honest with how many spices you really need for cooking and baking comes in. Remember, on top of single spices, you're gonna have a ton of spice blends for chilies, barbecuing, seasoned salt, and baking spices. Me personally, I love adding cinnamon, ginger, and nutmeg to cake batters, French toast, and pancakes. But don't forget, if you bake pie, you may even have an apple pie spice or pumpkin spice everything. You can see how quickly it can get out of hand. So what's the harm of having all these spices if you don't use them all the time? Nothing really. I mean, pre-ground spices can lose their pungency and strength over time, so you may just have to use a little bit more. And they can also clump, and I always say if it starts to clump, you may as well throw it in the dump. And if you have anything that might actually spoil, like nuts, then those can go rancid. For example, Duca has almond and pistachios, so it may start to taste funny. Some spices even have an expiry date depending on where and how you bought them, but that could just be a technical requirement for food safety. Best to taste and toss if you think it's gone bad. That brings me to my second important question. How much space do you have, and what's your real estate situation in your kitchen and your counter? When we bought this house, it came with an incredible pantry, and I have taken advantage of this to the point where I don't even know what I have and what I don't have. So ask yourself, do you really want to get to that spice rack and have it take up all that precious counter space? Do you really need all those blends in your pantry if you can't even keep track of them, let alone use them?
In order for me to keep this under control, I'll put the ones I use often, my favorites, to the right. The maybes in the middle, stuff that could go either way, and the expired, never used, and
It's totally solid.
questionable spices to the left. Maybe toss that bay leaf I got in the Obama administration. And remember, be completely honest with yourself. Just because you bought it doesn't mean you use it. That's the sunk cost fallacy.
Oh, and then dill. Look, I got a whole thing of, this is a lot of dill. This is an obscene amount of dill. What am I, opening up a dill pickle factory? By doing this one simple exercise, you can clean out your pantry and make space. Get rid of the spices that just sit there taking up space. And yes, you can even make more room for something new and different that you may actually use.
Here's what I ended up keeping. I kept a total of 19 spices. That's a 45% reduction in the pantry.
Before I get to my two favorite spices, I want to just give you a few tips on spice buying. Setting aside from the fact that grinding whole spices will give you better flavors for your cooking, here are some thoughts on buying spices and blends at the grocery store. First tip, read the ingredients and make special note of A, how much filler there is. That includes salt, sugar, and other ingredients that are literally just filler. This includes cornmeal, chickpea flour, xanthan gum, and other preservatives. Some of this stuff is anti-caking agents so they don't clump, but I always like to get the unadulterated stuff. There are some really great chili powders, for example, like this one from Spice Hunter that is a pure blend of spices. All killer,
no filler.
and it might be worth spending a few extra dollars knowing that you're getting the good stuff. And with filler ingredients, I mean, why pay so much for the spice equivalent of sawdust? Take this Za'atar I got from Trader Joe's. I love the store, and this blend was pretty good, but the ingredient is chickpea flour. It just takes away from the authentic stuff. But that brings me to my next tip. Some grocery stores have bulk spice sections, and if you can find them, go to an actual spice store. It might be the best place to try new spices. First off, you can buy smaller amounts, and secondly, you can find the genuine product. My local Sprouts market had authentic Za'atar that I was able to buy with hyssop, thyme, and sumac berries with no chickpea flour. And this was just a little cheaper than buying it in a bottle. And here's my last tip. Save your bottles. Yes, this might be a bottle of Trader Joe's Za'atar, but it has the real deal. One more tip. Spices can be expensive, so here are two options. Buy a bulk size of a spice that you really like. I buy a big container of this everything but the bagel because I pretty much use it on everything but the bagel. I prefer using a small bottle, so I have the space so I can get away with it and still save some money. Secondly, if you ever find yourself at a friend's kitchen, ask to take some spice home. You only need a couple of teaspoons to try it out, and I'm sure they won't mind. Or go shopping with said friend and split the spice between the two of you by using a spare container or an empty spice bottle. Just don't forget to label them. All right, so the two spices that I've had in every kitchen that I've ever been in from college up until now: garlic powder and onion powder. I know, I'm sorry, turmeric. Maybe not as crazy as you thought, but they are so versatile for soups, potatoes, meat, fish, guacamole, sauces, pizza. I mean, for me, the list is endless. And these two are my favorite staple spices. Do you agree? Do you disagree? What are your favorites? Comment below, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. And then this steakhouse seasoning, which expired in 2017, that's gotta go.